Facebook Live with Misty Henkel. Hello, Misty.
Hi, Serena. How are you going?
Good. We're just waiting to see whether we are fully up online yet. So if you can see us, please say hello. I've got a child there photobombing. Does the other child want to give a wave? The other child who's photobombing this. So let's see who we've got. We're just going to take a few moments to say hello and just connect with everyone here in the viewers. So Misty Henkel is a really good friend of mine. She is a networking queen.
That's the name I've been given, yeah.
She's even had a whole series of photos taken of her with
my crown. I should have brought my crown. I didn't think of it.
Yeah, we could have done that as well. And she's also a sales coach. She particularly helps people deal with sales anxiety. So that's her particular niche of what she likes to do.
Oh, we got Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hello. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
The photo bomb.
The photo bomber, yeah.
We were alive.
They might come back a bit later, although they've been warned and they know to go in their room, but you never know what happens with that. Welcome, Misty.
I'm excited to be here. I've come over to Serena's house because I'm a little anxious on the whole pressing the button and seeing where it ends up. So it's kind of, it's good to start here with somebody else. And I'm learning along the way.
Well, it's really fantastic to have you. Misty was the guest on a recent podcast where she talked about sales. And one of the things that really resonated to me is that she's given me advice that when you know how to sell, you can pretty much do anything, can't you?
Yeah, you can. It's a skill for life, really. It's not just for earning money. It's for getting your way. It's for going on a holiday where you want to go instead of where everybody else wants to go. It's something that you, on one hand, do anyway. It's something that you're going to need to do over life. Getting kids to vacuum without complaint. I just watched one of Serena's kids. Just the moment he was asked, he got off the computer. That was amazing. So clearly something's been sold to him in the background. So whatever skills you got there, you just take it forth into everything else because something worked beautifully there. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I think the thing is that the computer is actually my computer. It's actually my work computer. I actually haven't even logged onto that computer, but Neil uses it for editing podcasts and for videos.
Yeah.
So the understanding always was that it is not actually their computer.
Yeah, okay.
So that's been the basic understanding from the go-get, that it's not actually theirs.
Still, they just did exactly what was asked of them. It's time to get off. Okay, click. That's amazing.
Yeah, I have angel children. No, I'm very blessed with my children and I love them very much.
Look, if they just behave around other people, you're doing all right.
Well, it's good manners pretty much. So,
yeah.
Which is great. Now, what was I going to say? We had a question earlier in the Facebook group. Someone wanted to know particularly the impact of COVID.
Ways around sales with sales, marketing, that sort of thing with COVID. Hi, Jackie. You see you on there. Okay, so my answer to that is, because it was along the lines of, how do you sell? How do you network? How do you market knowing that you're kind of stuck in a house, like from an in-house scenario? It's all back end, all sales. It's all in the follow-up. If you've ever heard the line, the fortune is in the follow-up, it is so true. And one of the reasons why sales don't go all the way through until the end, hey Nadine, how you going, is because the follow-up isn't done until the end. What happens is so you might follow up a little bit, and then if the potential customer, the person hasn't purchased from you after a couple of follow-ups, most people give up. And that's why they're losing out on sales. But it's not just them that's losing out on the sale. Hey, Janie, it's not just them that are losing out on the sale. It's the customer that's losing out on the sale. If you give up on them before they get what they're after. Now, your job isn't necessarily to sell your thing to that person, but to make sure that that person gets exactly what they were wanting, which sometimes it might be refer them to somebody else. sometimes, and often it could end up being that they choose you over anybody else because they've spent time with you as well. But if you give up on them before they get what it is that they're after, then they have to start from scratch with somebody else and go through the whole process again. And so more than anything, it's the customer that loses. I'll give you an example. Last year I was speaking at the Beauty Expo up in Sydney, and I was doing a class on overcoming sales anxiety. And sales anxiety comes about mostly because things cost money and everybody holds emotion around money. So I spent first 30 minutes of the whole hour getting rid of emotion around money. Right. At the end of the seminar, there was a woman who came up to me who had a salon up in Newcastle, and she said, "Oh my God, I thought you were talking like directly to me. You know, I haven't put my prices up. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. I get anxious about telling them how much it's going to be." So she went home and that weekend, and that very night she put all of her prices up, let's say $20 per piece, right? She'd never done that in 15 years because she felt bad and she thought, you know, it would just be terrible for them. And I was talking to a lady, she said, I decided to do it without feeling bad about it and just do it because it has to be done. Because I'd said, if you have to close your doors, right, because you haven't put the price up, well, then all these other customers will lose. But this is actually what they're losing. I said, can you imagine going to your beautician for the last 10 years, her being completely trained up on all the treatments that you have, right? So you can just go in there and then you shutting your doors and they have to go find someone else and train someone else. And then they find out it's because you didn't charge them an extra $20. Like, how rude is that? So it sounds funny when you say it out loud, isn't it? But it's actually true, you know? So where's my point? So my point is not following up until the person gets what it is that they're after means that the customer loses more than anything else, because you just kind of let them go back out in the world, go looking all over again. Let's face it, Google's a great procrastinator. And so they'll spend their whole life never getting what they want because you failed to follow up. So following up, all right, how do you do that? You're stuck at home. We all have lists, right? So you might have a Facebook list. You might post something on Facebook and then people make comments on that. So you can go back and forth in the comment boxes from Facebook, or you could go back in through Messenger, say, hey, I really enjoyed that comment that you made. We should catch up. How did you end up on my page? And actually start a conversation individually with each person. Sure, it takes time, but at the end of days, you're going to have to have a conversation with all your customers anyway. So you may as well just get straight into it and start picking people out and find out how did they end up on your page. What is it that they're enjoying there? Have they been looking it up for somebody else? Have they been looking up for them? You'd be shocked how the personal contact back end has them buy whatever it is that you're selling and moves them across the line. Because often they'll be thinking about it. They just hadn't gotten around to it yet until they get the personal contact that sits on the other side.
That's a good example. And as you know, Misty, you were on my case to join a particular service club.
Yeah, I was.
I'd gone to a Zonta event and I'd gone to their annual pre-loved fashion sale, and I really loved them, and I signed up and I went, yeah, I'm going to join. But then I looked at when they met for breakfast clubs, and at that time I was a single parent and it just didn't really suit. But, you know, I still kept on the email list, and I'd look at it from time to time, and, you know, I was interested. It just wasn't the right time.
No, and so my job in Zonta was to just send out the invitations for breakfast for the monthly meeting. That was it. That was all I did. And so I'd have this growing list of people that I invited every single month. And just because I hadn't heard from Serena, like ever, in the first 2.5 years, didn't mean she came off my list. So one was I hadn't heard from her. So one could assume, oh, well, she doesn't want to be on the list because she hasn't responded back and she hasn't come to a meeting. I looked at it from the perspective as, well, she hasn't told me to take her off the list. So she's possibly reading it. She's busy doing something else. And then suddenly she said, oh, I'm coming. And then she joined. And then, you know, I got to meet her and know who she was. And it only took about, I don't know, 2.5 years. That's what it felt like. It probably wasn't quite that long.
No, but that's probably about right.
Yeah, because you were on the list from when I very first started. And I've only just finished up, retired from Zonta this year. and I was just reached that 3-year mark, and you joined up, I think, basically at the end of last year. So yeah, about 2.5 years.
Yeah, about 2.5
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
And, you know, I appreciated getting those emails. It wasn't the right time for me. But then I remarried, and my lovely husband, Neil, he was able to look after the kids for me. And I really felt strongly about being aligned with causes that supported women. So, you know, it was just a change in circumstances.
So some people you might recruit once or twice and they'll join up. Others are just on that recruiting list for like an extended period of time. And unless they tell you to go away, like you get to just keep them there. So you just keep them in the loop, keep them in the loop, keep them in the loop, and just see what happens with that. So I've had people, if you've got a large list and you're always looking to grow it, then you're never going to have problems with running out of people going, oh, those ones don't want. You won't be bothered by the people who haven't corresponded back because you're corresponding with the next group. So if you always keep them in the loop and you're growing your group. So basic rule of thumb, you want to look to extend your network by about 500 people a year, which is actually only 2 people a day, 5 days a week, right? And people are everywhere. Like they're walking down the street, there's business cards everywhere. You know, if you go to a networking event, you could collect, let's take business at breakfast, right? You can collect 40 people in one meeting. 40. Well, that's more than 2 a day for a week. So you're looking at 40 people, that's 4 weeks worth of work you've collected once. So, you know, there's plenty of different ways, and it's a matter of what are you doing with it. You've got a Facebook page, you're going to collect a new person, a couple of new people over the course of the week, I would reckon. Maybe if you're on LinkedIn, there's that there. You've joined a couple of groups. You know, you might be on, you know, so clearly if you're on the Joyful Frugalista, then, you know, Serena will put a post in, someone will make a comment, you will resonate with that. There you go. You got your list. You're in somebody else's group, but you've got the list of people there. You can friend them. You can tell them that you enjoyed their comments. You can meet them back on Messenger. You can find out more about them. So the lists are endless. Collecting 2 people a day, if you were only collecting 2 people a day, you'd probably find it hard to only collect 2 a day. Doesn't mean you accost them with your stuff. It means you just put them on a list and get to it along the way.
Yeah, so let's talk about networking and how to do it and how to do it well. Because, I mean, as you know, I'm a former diplomat, and diplomats on post, we network. And I must say, I rarely felt that it was done well. I was never quite sure whether I was doing it well, but I certainly knew that from other people I saw it wasn't done well. Now, why was that? Because I felt sometimes it was more about just collecting a lot of business cards. It wasn't actually about interacting. It was also a lot of people talking about themselves and what they did and not listening. And also when there was a guest speaker, it was fascinating because usually a guest speaker will turn up early and no one will know who he or she is, and they'll just be standing by themselves. And then after the event, everyone will mob the guest speaker. The amount of times I went to somewhere and I could see there's someone standing there by themselves, so I'll just go and speak to them. I had no idea really they were the guest speaker. And it was just fascinating because they're quite lonely when they arrive because they're not part of the group and they don't know who to speak to. But then after the event, like you can't even speak to them. They just want to get home by that stage. They're like, I'm done with this, you know, I'm tired, I've been speaking.
Yep. All right, so networking, look at networking. It's a form of advertising, right? So that's why you're out. It's actually for work. So it's okay to go out and hand out your business card to every single person. You can go out and be a nuisance, it's fine. Like there'll be plenty of blog posts that will tell you don't hand your business card out to everyone. Don't try and sell to anybody. You know, build relationships before you do the exchange. You know what? You can go out and be a nuisance. You can go, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card. I've done it. I've practiced it. You know, sell my thing, buy my thing. This is what I do. You know, be an absolute nuisance. People have hated me there, but when I leave, I write to everyone I've collected a card. You got a card, you got a card, you got a card, you know. It costs everybody. And then I go back out and I sit in my car and I collect all my business cards and I send them a quick follow-up email. And since I'm the only one that does it, I'm the only one that gets remembered as being the greatest person in the room. It doesn't matter how poorly I behaved before. It doesn't matter how you behave in the room. It's not remembered if you follow up on the cards that you've collected. So my suggestion is when you go networking, one is it's okay to speak about yourself. It is advertising. So I've been to some networking events. There was a woman years ago, fantastic, photographer. So when I first met her, we'd been at a number of networking events together. I knew she was a photographer, but I didn't know much about her photography. Was it business photography? Was it cats? Was it, real estate? Who knows? But I knew she was a photographer. And anyhow, she was very quiet at business events, at networking events. She was very much followed that rule of, in business, 2 ears, 1 mouth. So listen more than you speak. As a result, month in and month out, she was at networking events. We all seemed to like her because she was turning up. She handed out a card, which didn't really say much of who she was. And at the end, there was nothing on the other side. Like, there was nothing. We liked her and we couldn't give her anything because we didn't know anything about her. So I said to her one day, I said, it's like you're shy. She goes, I'm not shy. And I said, yeah, I don't think that you are either. I said, but you're very quiet. And if you don't talk to us about yourself, then we can't do anything with you. So think of it as an opportunity to advertise who you are and what you do. Right? Yes, ask the same question on the other side. What do you do? Who are you? What do you do? They want to hear about you. You want to hear about them. But if you're going to be really poor at this and you don't care about hearing about anyone else, you can actually go collect everybody's business cards, hand yours out, be a nuisance, stay for 10 minutes, have some drinks, leave, and so long as you follow up at the end. So my rule of thumb is however many cards you collect, that's how many emails you have to send back in the car before you head home. Because everybody has the intention of doing this the next day or later on.
Yeah.
Once you get home, life takes over.
Yeah,
it's never getting done. But you're still at the event when you're in the car. You're not home yet. So finish it up and then drive home. You don't have to worry about it. So, and the reason I say email, you can do a text, you can do a message, whatever. But the reason I say an email is your signature block should be showing up. So if you send an email, your signature block is there, and then they get to have an idea of who you are. They can go through their cards and go, oh, right, yes, that person. But it says your name, what you do, phone number, email address, right? So they've got an idea of who you are. They can then go to Facebook, they can go to LinkedIn, they can look you up. So email is the best follow-up method for initially getting noticed and remembered by other people.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. And I was really slack for a long time, and about a year ago, I'd created a new Joyful Frugalista email, and it wasn't actually until I was about to have you on my podcast, and I did some research and read your book and did a few things, I went, oh yeah, I don't have a block on my email. So, I just sort of assume that people know that I've got a podcast and a YouTube channel and an Instagram page and a Facebook group, but they mightn't actually know all of those things. So that was kind of an aha moment for me as well, because it's just, I used to have one at work. I don't know why I didn't have one when I left work to have my own business. I just wanted to note we've got a few shout outs, particularly Nadine, who says, hi, I'm enjoying this live.
Hi, Nadine. Thank you. Am I going all right?
Please give Misty a thumbs up to encourage her, and please ask her some questions so that you can ask whatever you would like to from Misty, and she can answer.
Yeah, ask some questions.
Ask some questions. Some questions would be good. But networking and talking about yourself is an interesting thing. Like I said, I'm a natural extrovert, but I do really make sure that I try and listen. And it's an interesting thing because I'm not naturally a listener. It's something I have to work at. And if I'm out and I've had a bit too much to drink, I don't listen to anyone. I just go blah, 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 blah. So I know, I sort of just go back to my natural state. So I know when I'm at a professional networking event, I have to really, I'm there to network. And so I have to be really careful.
Well, like I said, then look, if you blah, 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 and it's fine, because I know I can get excited and talk about things. I was a nuisance. I started at the Chamber of Commerce. So back 2013, June 2013, we were over at the Bureau of Statistics through the Chamber of Commerce, Business After Business. That was my very first networking event. And from that, I've gone, here's the secret to all sales. Why does hospitality and retail not know of this? This is amazing. Never before I'd been in a room of people that were so interested to find out what everybody else was doing. It was great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And so anyhow, going to every single event. So then I'd go to the Chamber of Commerce event. That was my first main event, every month. And I'd rock up to an event and, they've got the drinks and everything. And I'd go out and I'd say, oh, there'd be like 3 people here. And I'd go, oh, hi, hello, who are you? You'd say, it's Serena. And where are you from? Commonwealth Bank. Oh, great. Oh, hi, who are you? Matt. Oh, yeah, where are you from? Commonwealth Bank. And who are you? And that'd be someone from Commonwealth Bank. Going, do you like all work together? Okay, cool. This is not Friday night drinks. So you stay here because we're going to chat. You come over, and I would just move them. I would literally just give them someone else. Here's a new person. They're from Commonwealth Bank. And you just chat to them. And I'd move the other person somewhere else. I've gone, now go meet other people. Drink and meet other people. And we'll chat. That's how horrid I was. And I'm like the Spanish Inquisition. What do you do? How does that work? I don't understand. How does that cost? I don't get it. Like, who's getting that? And I still do it now. I've never changed. I used to have people leave. There was a certain guy who he started for networking here, which later becomes something else. It's now BX Networking, but he brought for networking here, and so while I'm the queen of networking, he ended up being dubbed the king of networking, and it was so funny because he would have a couple of drinks and he'd say to me, Misty, I think you're a little bit excited, and if you just toned it down, you'd probably end up with more customers. I don't want customers that aren't like me, so it's okay. I'm going to be excited. They're going to get excited, and if they think I'm too exciting, which clearly the Chamber of Commerce does, but that's okay, then they'll catch up when they're ready.
Now we have some questions. So we've got one from Nadine. She asks, do women often need permission to talk about themselves?
Well, on one hand, they don't need permission. Nobody needs permission to talk about themselves. You're actually there for a particular purpose. If you're out networking, you're there for a reason. And your reason should be, one is to get more work, which clearly you're not getting sales at that moment. But a sale is a person. It comes from a customer, which is an actual person. So everything is a potential customer. So you're there for a purpose, which is to collect people that you can follow up with, to get your name noticed, so to say your thing to somebody else, and to hand out your business card. Look, if you're not doing those 3 things, you should stay home with your family. And you come up with a different way to contact people that's not face-to-face or at networking, because the time that you're spending not working while you're there, you can have fun and enjoy yourself. Don't get me wrong, have fun and enjoy yourself. I love every event that I go to.
Cocktail but I make sure with the hors d'oeuvre things.
Yes, but you're there for a purpose too. And if in the end all you've done is collect one card and told one person who you are, because you end up spending the whole night talking to one person, you've done your job. Just follow up with them before you leave. So no, you don't need permission. You get to just go. I give you permission. Go forth, talk about yourself, because that's what you're out there for. Absolutely.
I'm just going to fix some noise, but before I do, we've got another question from Jackie, who says, how do you start a conversation?
Okay, good question, Jackie. I start it like this. Hi, how are you going? Who are you? What do you do? Can you tell me what do you do? You can see I'm already excited, like I'm already like as if I'm talking to someone right there. So that's how I started. Who are you and what do you do? And who buys that? Wow. And then I get into the conversation that way. Give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me. What else have we got? Do I need to elaborate on that? I think that's...
Are you happy with that, Jackie? Can you give us a thumbs up? And if you're happy with that, we'll go and then move to a question from Sandra, who's got a question, a rookie question.
Yeah, okay. Or another way to start a conversation is, how did you get out here networking? So I always ask their name first, what do you do? And then probably say, how did you find this networking event? Or have you been networking before? And that sort of just puts them in the same area as you. A lot of people are anxious when they come out networking. We've been brought up to believe that strangers will kill us. That's what our mothers teach us from when we're very small. And so, of course, going into a room full of strangers can be daunting. It takes about 3 networking events before your brain kind of goes, nobody's here to kill me.
And I think here in Canberra too, like a lot of public servants are actually wired not to talk about themselves. Like I know when I first came out to Canberra in 2000, I was working in Department of Defence as a young lady in Department of Defence, and I had specific, strictures about not talking about what I did. So, it was actually quite difficult because, I remember going to a Rotary meeting and people suddenly like, and so what do you do? And it was actually quite hard because what I'd actually learned was that up until that point, no one ever really asked me what I did, because most people in social context will talk totally about themselves. So it was quite okay going to barbecues or other things and just listening and asking people all the time what they did, because no one was ever really interested in what I did. It was fascinating to watch, except when I went to Rotary, which, like a lot of service clubs, has people who are really interested in other people and are also doing it. I mean, people join service clubs because they're genuine about making a difference, but they're also doing it for networking.
Yeah.
Usually. And so you have people who will ask the question, so what do you do? And so that was actually quite hard.
Yeah. So we're also trained inside our household to not speak about what we do. So clearly, I'm excited by sales. All things sales, anything to do with networking where it's the opportunity to meet people and find out what they're doing. And I'm always like, how do you sell that? Who's buying that? Wow, how much does that cost? Who am I looking for? How can I promote that? Like, I'm always thinking that, right? So everybody else in the house may not be so excited on that. So they're like, yeah, all right, Missy, we get it. You like sales, you read the books, you do the stuff, you're doing it like all the time. And so most people who are passionate about something, that's pretty much the result of what they get at home. So that trains us to not talk about this thing that we're passionate about. Mm-hmm. So it becomes difficult then when we go out. And so it's easy to say to someone, what do you do? And then sit there and listen to them while not actually delivering information. Here's the thing. If you don't tell people what you do when you head out, you've ripped them off. Like, they've gone out, they're spending their time away to find out about other people. So if you don't finish and tell them what it is you've done, then basically they get to go home going, well, I talked about myself the entire time. Like, what sort of a horrible person do I seem like? You know, like, that's all I did. They didn't tell me nothing.
Maybe
so
they don't
notice. Maybe. But, you know, ultimately that's what you're training into them. So, you know, don't rip them off. Give them something exciting to talk about when they go home. You know, I used to have this guy. Oh, I still got him. His name is Gary Reynolds, and he's a volunteer with the steam train that would go from Kingston to Bungendore and back. So we're in Canberra, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, really? I didn't even know that there was a train here. Oh, yeah, we're building the steam train and we go down here and do this stuff. So anyhow, I used to make him come to sales classes, right? So he's my train conductor. And he'd come to sales classes and I'd say, you know, this is what I want you to do, Gary, right? Because more people need to know about this. So from now on, you are never to go through the self-service thing at the checkouts when you get your groceries. I want you to stand in line and wait to be served by a checkout lady, right? And I said, and then while you're waiting in that big long line, I want you to say to the person in front, so how was your day today? You know, what did you do? And they might say, yeah, it was all right. You know, I work in the, where do you work? Oh, I work in the bank. I said, because by default, they're going to feel obliged to say, and what do you do? Oh, my God, I'm a volunteer. I work on the steam train that goes from Kingston to Rainbow Bank. It is amazing. I said, just tell them, you know, we've got this thing coming up. And he said, anyhow, he said, I've been doing it. And I said, and the word will get around. Anyhow, one day he said, I was at Bunnings. He said, the lady said, so what are you doing? Oh, I work on the steam train, and, you know, Valentine's Day's coming. Do you believe in Valentine's Day? Well, even if you don't, we're having this dinner. And he said, it was like he was sitting on my shoulder just going, just keep going, Gary, until she tells you to stop. He said, I held up the whole line. I had everybody in line ask me questions about the train. Nobody was buying anything. He said, it was great. Sold tickets. He said, anyhow, we sold out by the end of the week. It was great. So people are excited to hear about what you do, so don't rip them off.
Yeah, and I know, Misty, you gave me a lot of advice when I was promoting my first course, the first 6 weeks course, 6 weeks to Abundance with the Joyful Frugalista. And it was really scary, you know. It's like, well, why are people going to, you know, will they spend money on this? And they did, and in fact that first course was sold out a week before the event. And not only that, but it's proving to be an amazing event because of, you know, the dynamic of, in this case, ladies who are on this course is amazing. And, you know, I'm looking at it now and going, why did I doubt myself? Like, why was I so scared about selling this? Now, next time I need to tell more people so that they can get onto it. So it was really good. Now, we have 2 questions. So I'm going to ask Janie's questions first because it's related to what we were talking about, which was, how do you deal with people who keep talking about themselves and who are not interested in you or your business?
Okay, I get stuck with this sometimes. Let's say I'm at a networking event and I've gone up to a group. Sometimes I go up to a group, 2 people are chatting. Oh, how you going? And they're like, yeah, just give us a minute. And then they finish their conversation. I'm kind of standing there going, oh God, I've made a mistake. But I mean, how can I walk away now, right? So sometimes I'm just kind of stuck there and I kind of think, just suck it up, collect some cards before you leave, but just, suck that up. Sometimes, hey, John Paul is on. He was the one that asked a question before.
Yes.
And then other times, yes, you might get stuck in that conversation of somebody's just talking. You know what? Sometimes you just have to suck that up and then come up with I see someone over there, or
lovely to meet you. Catch up later.
Yeah. Oh shit, is that the time? Oh my God. Hey, do you want to swap a card? Sometimes you do just get stuck, and I'd like to have a really eloquent answer to that, but you know what? It happens to me too. Sometimes I just think, oh God. Probably the more important side is to be mindful that you're there to work, and so it will stop you from being in that situation. It won't stop you necessarily from getting caught in it, but it'll stop you from being it, where you're talking to someone for an extended period of time, which might be them going, oh shit, I'm only here for a short amount of time. And it allows you to go, oh, you know what? We should catch up at another time, and we need to go and speak to other people. So I do this. I say, you know what? We're supposed to be working here. I could talk all day. Or I'm loving this. We should catch up. But I have to, rule for networking, you just say it. The rule for networking is must collect at least 3 cards before we leave. So I've got to go and talk to a couple of other people. People say, there's a rule for networking. There's a rule for networking. Right? The rule is collect more cards than anybody else. That's the rule, right? So, and then the difference. So,
well, I must say, I used to be a little bit nervous sometimes at networking events, because I would sort of think, how many people am I supposed to be speaking with tonight? And because I didn't really know. And sometimes you'd meet someone who is just absolutely amazing, and you really, you're just really having a good conversation. I don't want to move on from that. I don't want to get to know that person better, and I feel almost bad to have to leave. But I'm like, but then if I'm speaking to that one person all night, I'm monopolizing them, and they're not getting an opportunity to meet other people. So, so it's an interesting one. So, Sandra had a comment before.
Hang on, maybe I'll just say to Janie, hey, Janie, maybe that's the way out of the conversation, is to say, oh, my God, I'm taking up all of your time and I'm stopping you from working and meeting more people. We should catch up later. We
should catch up later.
We should test that as practice. We should, when COVID's over, we just go out and just practice talking to someone and then turning around and saying, oh my God, I'm taking up all of your time. Let's branch out.
So Jackie said, sometimes I say, oh, we've been talking all about you. I guess I should tell you something about me. Wow, calling them out.
Yeah, nice one.
So Sandra asked a question before, so we haven't forgotten about you, Sandra, and that was a rookie question, she said, about what a signature block is and how you create one.
Oh, good one. So I have mine in my phone. I cannot tell you how important it is to put one in your phone. I have an iPhone personally, but I figure they're all sort of the same. So if you go into the settings and then you find the mail section and then click on the mail and then go down to where it says signature, and you just type in, so I type in my name, so Misty, and then 2 lines down, I've got Misty Henkel, then next line, sales trainer. So I'm telling you my name, what it is that I do, and then I put in my phone number and my email address. Now that's as much as you need to do. You can put in more, you can whatever. It doesn't matter if you put in more, but that's as much as you need to do. Person needs to know, which basically needs to be what's on a business card. Your name, what you do, phone number, email address. If you were to drop that card and anybody pick it up, they should be able to tell from that card. You use your card not as a, people say, oh, business cards are dead in today's world. I got you my phone, but it's not. It's a piece of advertising. So it's not dead. It's not just about passing the content. Oh, I'm not going to bother with a business card. It's just their contact details. It's actually advertising. And if it was dropped, it should be able to tell plainly who you are and what you do. So that's basically for your signature block. I can't recommend enough. Just put it in your phone before anywhere else, because you tend to be doing things on the fly, and your phone signature tends to be sent from iPhone. The amount of people that send me a contact, like send me a text or whatever and say, hey, Missy, have you got so-and-so's details? Yes, I just got an email from them the other day. Holy crap. No, I don't have any of their contact details because it was sent from iPhone. So I can't tell you how important it is to make sure that there's something that says what you do and who you are and what you sell inside that. It's the best advertising ever. And you don't take it out for family members. Seriously. If family members aren't buying your products or recommending you to anyone else, they don't know what you do. So a little reminder to them ain't going to hurt at all. And if you're sending something to your mum and it's got the signature block in it and she might think, oh, that's a bit formal, she might only think that until she just gets over it. And she's not really going to read it. But in actual fact, her brain is reading that, even if she's not really paying attention, you know, and they'll just move on from that. So don't take it out for anything, nothing at all.
Well, today, actually, I was searching for someone's phone number, so someone who'd done some design work for me earlier this year, and I really wanted to get in contact with them. I'd sent them 2 emails, and this person hadn't responded, so I was like, right, I've actually got to phone them now, because I need an answer about whether they can do this or not.
Yep.
And it was really hard, because I had the previous emails, but there was nothing in the emails.
Yeah, so sometimes now I have to go back through Facebook, find them in Facebook, send through a friend request so that I can find them in Messenger, go back through Messenger, and then try and call them that way.
Yes.
So,
but if they put it on their email, you can search for it, you can find it, there. You can ring them, it's there.
Yep.
So now we had a question.
And you can be advertised to other people if you put it there. So if you put it there and then you write to me, then I can advertise you because it's sitting there. If you don't put it there and you write to me and I want to pass your details on and say, oh my God, I found the person who does that perfect thing. I know exactly who you need. Yeah, I got nothing. I know how to contact them.
So we had a question from John Paul. John Paul, Misty started to answer this earlier because I know that you put it in the thread, but I think it's good to ask it again. There's more people on here and we can
Sure.
More I
details. Think so too. So, John, your question is, how do you sell a network in the new post-COVID and working from home world? Well, we all have lists. Friends and family, Facebook's one, LinkedIn is one. If you're on Instagram, we're all creating lists every day. Being on Serena's post, you know, the Joyful Frugalista, you've got a list sitting inside there. Look, on this Facebook page, if you were to go through and write down every person that's showing up, so Janie's showing up, Jackie Owen showing up, Nadine. So look at all of those there. Now you've got a list, right? A list of people whom you can now go. It's all in the follow-up, John. So collect your people from anywhere, right? Networking is really about collecting people, getting to know who they are and getting them to know who you are. Collect your list from wherever you like, but then go back and meet them. So you can collect all these people and then you go back through Messenger, go, how great was Misty tonight? How awesome is Serena? And then just start the conversation based on however it is that you met. You know, I was on the Facebook Live, you were on the Facebook Live, I liked your comments, or don't know what you do yet, but you're on there. Clearly we're in the same group, so maybe we should find out a little bit about each other. And then you can just start networking that way without ever having met in real life.
Well, it's interesting because I know we're both part of a number of networking groups, including the Business at Breakfast group, where you facilitate the early morning. You're the glue.
I invite, so I make sure everybody turns up.
To the early morning 6:45 on Thursday session. And it's been really fascinating to watch in these last few months. Some groups that I've been a part of haven't really resonated for me during COVID. They just sort of haven't got the digital world as well, or it just hasn't been as relevant. But that really has. In fact, it's become more relevant than ever. And I think because it's actually more convenient now, because now I don't have to get in my car and leave home at 6:20 a.m. So previously I'd have to get up at 5:45 a.m. or something and drive there. Whereas now I can sort of manage to grab some Vegemite toast and be on a Zoom call at 6:45 a.m. With a bit of caffeine, a bit of a cup of tea.
You can get straight out of bed.
I've
rocked up in my jammies.
Some people have.
And then you could tell. I didn't think you'd be able to tell someone, but you could tell.
But that group has actually become even more relevant to my way of thinking in COVID than it was previously. So I'm conscious of our time, so I might think...
Has this been 39 minutes? I could just do this all night.
Yeah. I could true, but I guess at some point, you've got to get up early in the morning because you've got a 6:45 a.m. Session that you need to do.
I have a system on a Thursday morning, right? Because I invite so many people, and then also I've now got people who invite others. They say, Misty, I've invited these people, so I'm sending the link out. So I now can't not turn up, and I certainly can't be late. So I have this system. I set 6 alarms that they start at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I used to have these people who say, yeah, I'm coming. And then they'd call me up and say, oh, I got a flat tire, or this happened, the car didn't work, or I slept through an alarm, or I put the wrong time frame. So now I get all panicked on a Wednesday. I start my alarms at 4 o'clock in the morning. I basically get up, have my shower, be ready. And then I might sit on the lounge and have a snooze for about 30 minutes before it all happens. So when we were driving, like when we were driving out, I'd literally get to the cafe probably no later than 6. I would sleep in the car for 30 minutes to just catch up on a few Z's, and set an alarm, loud one, and then I'd go in and I'd be all ready to go because I'm not going to miss the meeting. So yes, I do get up early, but it's okay.
I'm not a naturally a morning person.
I make it happen.
So any other last minute questions? I know, Misty, you've given me a great deal of advice, and it certainly has been helping me when I go to networking events, particularly being a lot clearer about my message. Yvette has a message. Thanks. Just set my signature block.
Oh,
I've got to do mine on the phone now, so I didn't think of doing that one. So you're ahead of me, Yvette, because I'm only halfway done.
Great. So Yvette, find me on Facebook, send me a messenger, and I'll give you my email details, and you can flick me an email. I'll see it, and that'll be cool. And then I'll be able to see what it is. That'd be great.
And Misty's really good with advice. She'll look at signature blocks and go, yes, that's good.
Yeah. So I wrote a book. I should have wrote it. I wrote a book, right? And it's called...
I'll find the book.
I'll go find it. Overcoming Obscurity, How to Get Noticed in the Marketplace. You can make more money. And the second chapter is all about your signature block, right? And so in the book, there we go. Can we see? In the book, it's so it's basically the top 5 things to do to get noticed, and then the 6th chapter is about networking, so how to extend your footprint, right? And the 2nd chapter is about that signature block. I actually wrote, so important is it that I put all my details in, saying when you've done it in your phone, send me a message and say this is my signature block. Now when you've done it in your computer, send me a message and say this is my signature block. When you've done it in your iPad, send me the message, say this is my signature block. That's how important it is, because you never know which device you're going to pick up at any one stage, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. Like, I find it annoying when I hear it, read a sent from whatever. It's like, oh, who cares? But I had never actually thought of actually changing my own.
Yeah, so I now, when I read emails, I think, oh, you didn't advertise yourself. Oh, you didn't advertise yourself. Oh, who did you not advertise? If you're not advertising to me, who else are you not advertising to? Like, I might know who you are and what you do. Not the point. Just keep reminding me, because every time I see it, right, even if you're talking about something else, every time I see it, I am slowly talking myself into your product and service. You don't have to do any work with it, right? So just keep having it show up all the time. That's why McDonald's is the biggest name in hamburgers, right? They just keep advertising hamburgers whether you want one or not. Because they keep advertising, they just wait for people who feel like a hamburger to turn up when they're ready. They don't make anybody buy. They just keep, they've just never gone away. Right? And so I know, like growing up, best hamburgers in the world, and it still is this day, are the tastiest ones are the ones you get from the corner shop, right? So, the takeaway at the corner shop, they never advertise. So I lived at Watson a couple of years ago. Me and Simon and the boys, we lived at Watson, and they had this fantastic takeaway around the corner, but we were also basically across the road from the McDonald's on Northbourne. And I said one night, I said, go down and get hamburgers for dinner. And Simon's like, yeah, all right, I'll have an Angus. Yeah, no. I'm going to the takeaway store, and I'm going to get us hamburgers and chips. He's like, are you joking? I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, no, seriously. We can't be getting those. I was like, have you never had a hamburger from the corner shop? And he said, I've never had a takeaway hamburger, like, ever. And I'm not going to like it. Anyhow, turned out he liked it.
But yeah, you're right. It's so much at the front of our consciousness now that's what you think about. So thank you so much, Misty, for sharing your wisdom. And Misty, as you know, is author of this book here. She's also featured on one of the Joyful Frugalista podcast episodes, and she's now sharing her wisdom here tonight. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. See ya.